Hi everybody, welcome to my first live in ages. If you are normally here, you know that I have been off here for a good couple of weeks, maybe about a month or so, and have been showing up a bit more again recently. I needed to take some time off to get some clarity because hi Jai. I needed to get some clarity, and often I find, I don't know about you, but when I'm on here, you get so bombarded with everybody else's opinions and everybody else's perception of things that you don't really have your own experience. And added on top of that, because I often get guidance messages that I want to share with you, or I feel like, oh, hang on, this perspective might be helpful. So then I often start to kind of live my life through a lens of posts and messages and lives, and that can get a bit, it can get unhealthy. So I needed some time off, I needed some clarity. I wanted to focus on really being on the timeline that I want to be on, which, I mean, I always just say I choose the highest timeline. I don't know what that looks like. I don't like to get too specific about it because I don't want to limit it, and I also don't want to bring things into it that don't necessarily have to be in it. But now I'm happy to be back, having had that break. So welcome. As you come in, I'd love to know how you are. Last year I did a live on New Year's Day and shared with you some messages that were coming for us. And I wanted to do the same thing this year, but some things happened a couple of days ago that meant that I wasn't up to it yesterday. And then, but here I am now. So I know it's really dark, and I apologize about that. I fiddled around with the lighting for ages. It's quite stormy outside. It's going to storm. So I'm going to look like I've got every light on in the area, but I'm sort of going to look like I'm in the dark. Hopefully not symbolically. Hopefully that's not a symbolism of where I am on things. But anyway, so let's start. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. Let's start with New Year. Happy New Year. Someone in my DM said, oh, and thank you to everybody that has said, happy to see you back. Have missed you. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate, so what I love about that is when I get messages of people saying, I'm really happy to see you back, and what you share in this space means that I'm a positive energy in this space. Not positive in the sense of let's not talk about anything that's uncomfortable, but positive in the sense of optimistic and hopefully always reminding you of your power. Hopefully my lives, my posts, whatever, are interactions that make you think, that expand your mind, and that get you more on your own authentic path. So, New Year's, how do you feel about New Year? So we're starting to talk about this whole New Year thing this year, and a whole heap of people are saying it's not really New Year. It's not New Year, it's New Year in March. So of course everybody from the Northern Hemisphere is saying it's New Year in March. We're in the Southern Hemisphere. So really, if we were going to go with nature, which is what these people have been saying, we need to look at nature. When are things new? When would we celebrate the new? When would we renew? It would be in spring. Okay, so if we're going to do that in spring here, it's going to be around September. Someone hopped into my DMs and said, I won't say Happy New Year because you posted the thing about the New Year. Okay, here's what I just want to share about that. Do whatever feels right for you. Everybody's going to be at different stages of unraveling the whole thing. Everybody's going to be at different stages of realizing that things have been hijacked, realizing that energetically important times, portals, I've spoken about this very many times. Portals are a time where you can get a hijacking, right? You're going to have the narrative around that time controlled for loosh, rather than you being able to take that time. So as I've often said, a portal is like a bus pulling up at the front of your house, And if you hop on board, if you recognize it, if you recognize the opportunity, you can hop on board and you can basically go, let's say, forward. We're going to use language that makes sense to us. So we'll take you forward. Okay, so that's what a portal is. Now, if there's energies around that don't kind of want you moving too far forward, they're going to hijack a narrative. Is that what has happened with Christmas? Most likely. Is that what has happened with New Year's? Most likely. It's probably what's happened with all of them. So as we start to wake up to this, does it mean that like, oh, you're not allowed to say Happy New Year anymore? Absolutely not. And what's so important about that, like with all things, like with Christmas, like with putting a tree up, like with any of it, feel into it. Let somebody else's perspective expand yours. Let it expand yours. Sit in it. Sit in their perspective. Feel around and go, does this resonate with me? Okay? Because so many of you will have been living other people's truths and other people's lives. So now your mind might be expanded as you think, hey, is New Year a thing? Is this really New Year, or was the whole calendar really manipulated? Was the whole calendar hijacked? Yeah, okay. If that resonates with you to celebrate New Year, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and you go, you know what, I want to celebrate New Year in March, or if the whole 1st of April thing resonates, go for it. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere and you go, I want to celebrate New Year's in September, go for it. The moral of the story, the take-home message would hopefully be, celebrate it whenever you want to, right? Here it's summer. It feels like a renewing on the 1st of January of the year. So if you want to celebrate something, celebrate something. What I'm becoming very conscious of is whenever they want us to collectively band together and they control our expression of it, when it becomes like the rules, when Christmas is meant to be like this, when New Year is meant to be like this, when they get us together in groups and then we're meant to count down, and then at that time we all express like quite strong emotions, we're just sending loosh. We're sending loosh to the matrix. And that's the part that I'm withdrawing from. I'm really consciously withdrawing from that Christmas loosh. I'm really consciously withdrawing from that New Year's loosh. So would I now go to a New Year's event, a public event with fireworks and masses gathering? No, because I don't want to be loosh to the matrix. Am I saying it's wrong for you? No. And so I think as you start to expand your mind, as you start to question and maybe feel into like, does this feel right? Maybe it's a thing. Don't walk around now looking for someone else's truth. You know, as your mind kind of broadens and there's more space there, you don't have to quickly fill it with somebody else's truth or somebody else's understanding. What you can do is start to feel into your own. Like just start to what feels right for me. So if celebrating New Year feels right for you, do it. Maybe next year it won't. Maybe the year after less. Maybe it doesn't matter. It's all about expanding. So I did want to talk on New Year. How are people feeling about New Year? Is this like the first year that you're kind of starting to that makes a lot of sense, put like that? Great. I love that. You know, it's just, don't kind of put aside matrix programming and teaching and pick up somebody else's truth. Because you know what, at the end of the day, we are all perceiving this from our own unique vantage point. And although we get messages, some people might, wherever people are getting messages from, it's still going through the messenger. It is still, no matter how pure source or whatever your thoughts or beliefs are on that, it's still going through the messenger. So there's still some clouding. It's still being received at a certain frequency. It's still being said at a certain frequency. It's being shared at a certain frequency. So it's not necessarily the truth. It doesn't have to be your truth, right? So make sure that you feel your way into what resonates with you. And that's the other thing that I want to talk about. Actually, there's a few things I've written down. So I did a post where I said that often as a new year approaches, many of them I've had a really clear message for me on what that year is kind of going to be about. And with 2023, the really clear message that came through was like, 2023 is the year to be authentically me, okay? That's for me, that's for you, that's for whoever that resonates with. So if we're going to be authentically ourselves, and I'm going to talk in a minute about why that's so important, if we're going to be authentically ourselves, we've got to stop living other people's lives. We've got to stop being led. We've got to stop walking behind other people and going, hey, do you do that New Year thing? No, I think it's shit. Yeah, me too. When you don't really want to. Far more important is that you do what resonates with you. So about, 7 or so years ago, Mr. Cookson and I stopped doing Christmas presents. Loved it, immediate. The minute I did it, it was like, oh, thank fuck. Like I just wanted to get out of that whole consumerism aspect of it. I wanted to get out of that whole giving people things they didn't need while they're giving me things I don't need. And it was just that whole obligation, it's not what I wanted that time of year to be. And this year we were invited somewhere where they do gifts. And they were doing not a secret Santa, well, sort of a secret Santa, but like a stealing Santa, right? So everyone was bringing a gift and then, whatever. And so I sat with that for a little while and I thought, okay, this is what they normally do. I've been invited to join theirs. I'm going to be there on this day. Do I want to join in that? And there was the part of me that sort of said, well, you haven't bought a present for so long. What does it matter by a present? It doesn't matter. And then there was the part of me that thought, yeah, but you stopped this for a very specific reason. Now, do I want to restart it? Do I want to re-bring this energetic into my Christmas? Or am I doing it out of obligation? Am I doing it because part of me thinks, just do it. It's easy enough to do it. Just do it. And because that was really, like I felt like, no, I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it because, not out of obligation, but because there was a part of me that thought, just join in what they do. And it didn't feel right, so I decided not to do it. And I think that is the thing. Is it about buying presents at Christmas? No, it's not. Is it about celebrating New Year? No, it's not. Is it about putting a tree up? No, it's not. Is it about any of it? No, it's not. At the end of the day, what it's really about for you is, are you choosing to do what resonates with you? Are you making choices that resonate with you? Are you going against yourself? Right? How much of your life, how much of your day are you going against yourself? Because, well, it's easy enough. Just do it. Just do it. This is what is meant by, this is the year, if we're going to do years, because that's the other thing. The whole of time is an illusion. So we can stay in the circle. We can kind of like deepen our understanding by doing some research and looking into where the whole New Year thing came from, why the 1st of January was chosen. We can look into, what else is going on around that time, and is there possibly energetic siphoning? We can look into all of that. But then let's not get stuck there, right? Let's not get stuck there. Let's take it a step further and ask, if time is not even a thing, can you be right or wrong when you celebrate it? And I don't feel like it's about when you celebrate it. I feel like it's about the collective coming together that we're encouraged to do, and then the loosh that is siphoned off those gatherings. So 2023 for me feels like the year to be authentically me, to really step that up, to not go against myself, to really feel into what resonates with me without making anybody else wrong. It's not about right and wrong. surely we are like grown up enough and we're at a level where we're kind of deep enough, in enough, high enough, whatever you want to call that, where it doesn't have to be about right or wrong, where two people can sit together and have a conversation and go, that does not resonate with me. Cool. Great. So if we're going to focus on being authentically ourselves, that's important for a couple of reasons. It's important for discernment, which is something I've spoken on a lot. If you are new here, if you haven't listened to any of my lives, go back. The last probably, I'd say 3 or 4 have been on discernment and why it's so important. If you're going to walk your own path, if you're going to live your own life, if you're going to stop being at the mercy of programming and manipulation, on whatever level you view that at, right? What I like about this account, whatever you call it, I like the fact that a lot of what I say appeals to a lot of different kind of people. And the reason is just take it at whatever level you want to take it at, right? If you're like, what manipulation? I mean, I don't know that you'd be here if you were at like, what manipulation? But if you are, then you can think about it as family manipulation, right? Cultural manipulation. Times where you're encouraged to go against yourself because it's the right thing to do, because it's what we do, or because somebody else has told you so many times over and over and over again, you've got a well-worn groove of like, oh, this is what we do at this time. And so what if this is like a stop? What if this is like I talked about that really early on in 2020 when I said, you know, the house has been on fire for such a long time. And occasionally we've woken up and gone, do I smell smoke? And then we've gone back to sleep. And 2020 was that time when shit got so mental. Okay, if you're new here, I swear a lot. If there's kids around, either be okay with it or turn this off. Shit got so mental that we couldn't ignore it any longer. And so it was, do you smell smoke? Yes. I smell smoke. And enough of us got together and went, I smell smoke. The house is on fire. I smell smoke. And enough of it collectively happened for us to go, stop. And we did this thing that we call waking up. Many of us didn't wake up in the sense that I think of as waking up. Many of us became aware, okay? And awareness without being in your power is not being awake. It's kind of the worst part to be in. So when you're asleep, you're all cozy and it's all lovely and you're going, everything's okay and it's wonderful and it's normal and it's how it should be and, you know, everything's on track. That can be quite a nice state for you to be in. It's not an overly expansive state. It's not probably a great state for your soul, but it can seem good at the time. And then you can be in awareness where you go, everything's mental. This is all crazy. And that's the worst, most difficult, not the worst, but that's the most difficult stage to be in. Because if you're aware that everything's mental, but you're not yet remembering your power within that, then you can feel really hopeless and you can feel really like at the mercy of things. And then that's when you're really like, oh my God, Daniel Andrews got back in. Oh my God, like people didn't vote the right way and you're losing your shit. I mean, you watch people from all walks of life who've done some really wise things and said some really wise things completely lose their shit because Daniel Andrews got back in. So that's the awareness stage. The awake stage would be where you start to recognize this has no bearing on me. Firstly, you know, an individual along the line has no bearing on the bigger picture, grand scheme of what is happening. There's that. And secondly, something I spoke about yesterday, which was mastery. When you're focusing on your own mastery and you're focusing on walking your own authentic path, you're not that worried about what's happening in the outside world. Not in a ignoring it way, not in a like love and lighting it way, not in a like let's not talk about it because, you know, it won't happen to me way, but in a like, in a okay, what is my authentic path here? And what are my beliefs here? Like what resonates with me? Okay, what resonates with me? And knowing I can find my power no matter where I am. I can find my power no matter what is going on. Like it's an internal job. Okay, it's not something that can be taken from the outside. Let me know if this is making sense, and let me know if you have any questions. So it's so important that we are aligned, that we are more and more our authentic selves, because, and this is the part, this is what came to me when I started my break from here. Let me know if you've heard me talk about the airport analogy and if different aspects of the airport analogy have helped you. I'm going to add a bit onto it today. So just a quick little recap. Some time ago, I don't know when, I don't know, if you're anything like me, like it's all kind of blurring into, you don't, like literally it could have been like 8 months ago, it could have been a year and a half ago, I have no idea. People started saying to me how much pain they were in at having lost people. They were losing people that were really important to them, partners, family members, lifelong friends, and they were starting to grow apart. And I asked about guidance for that, and I wanted to basically help people to process that and to kind of make sense of that in a way, I suppose. And what came to me was the airport analogy. Jai, and then there was also the people that woke up, took a sleeping tablet to only have it lose effect and had to wake up. Yeah. You know, I suppose the thing is, no one has to wake up. Like, kudos to anybody that has. Kudos to anybody that is on any kind of trajectory of awareness and awakening, right? Because you could say, and for sure, it can become more and more uncomfortable. It can become so uncomfortable to like pretend nothing's happening. But then some people like really manage that quite well. So there's a level of choice in that, which is pretty good. But yeah, when the sleeping tablet wears off, you always feel like crap. You always feel like crap. You never feel as good as you do if you had a natural sleep. So the airport analogy. You can travel with people. You can take the bus, you can take the train, you can take a cab, you can be in a car together to the airport. We can all travel together to the airport. So the people that have been in your life up to now, if you have lost someone, you were kind of traveling to the airport together. But once you get to the airport, because you have a different itinerary, you separate and you need to go and sit at your own boarding gate. If you do not go to your own boarding gate, then you could stay with people, and that's where people started to separate. Okay, that was a bit of a split. So if we want to talk about splits, that was a bit of a split. There was a split between the people that you had maybe been living your life alongside of, people you'd been walking along with, you'd been living your life alongside, and then 2020 came, and for whatever reason, whether you were making different choices, whether you had different perceptions, whether you suddenly saw them in a light that was really different to how you'd ever seen them before, whether they suddenly saw you in a light that was really different to how they'd ever seen you before, and they kind of like wanted you out of their life, whatever happened, the split, in a sense, was getting to the airport and going, oh, we're not meant to sit at the same at the same departure gate, because we are going to we have a different onward journey. Okay. Then the next aspect of the airport thing that came more recently as kind of, I suppose, a download in a sense of just, you know, a metaphor that was helpful was, and why it's so important to be discerning. Once you're at the airport, so if we think of the world as an airport, We've all come from different places. We're all going to different places. I mean, this is definitely something most of us are waking up to. We've all come from different places. We're all going different places. So if we think of the world as an airport, once I get to the airport, I can, if I don't know how to navigate, right? Once I get to the earth, if I don't know how to navigate, in my life right now, in your life right now, if you're not sure how to navigate, you can look to other people to watch how they're doing it. And so it's okay to a certain extent to have podcasts you're listening to, teachers that you're listening to, videos, conversations with people that you know, that really resonate with you, where you're looking at them going, how are you doing this, right? You can observe, okay, when they get to the airport, they have this thing, they look up at the board and the board tells them where to go. They check in their luggage, they go and drop it off, and then they go to the departure gate. You can watch all that, but you can't follow them. You can't blindly follow them because they're going to a different place. We each have an individual and unique itinerary. So we can't just be blindly going, so am I celebrating New Year's Eve or am I not? Am I celebrating it in March? No, you're celebrating it in September. All of these accounts that I follow, and I love their work, it's interesting, there's just this blanket statement of, well, duh, New Year's Eve is meant to be in March. Is it though? Only if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. If you're going to use spring as the time to celebrate that, then only if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. So it's still specific. Why don't we just get it completely specific and make it what resonates with you? What resonates with you? Do you want to celebrate a new year at all? Do you want to do it on the 1st of January? Do it when you want to do it. Because we each have a different itinerary. So we're going to look up on the board. We're all going to be sent to different boarding gates, right? So you need to hone your discernment. You need to be self-leading, self-sourcing, self-guiding. You can check in and tune into the wisdom that is all around you. The earth will want to speak to you. Different aspects, animals, symbolism, source, God, Jesus, whatever you are connected to will be happy to communicate with you. Start allowing that communication to happen from within. Start allowing that messaging to be your own unique guidance, path, itinerary. And you're going to feel into that with what resonates and getting really clear on this resonates, this does not, right? And stop looking so much to other people. So the latest installment of the airport analogy that came to me very recently was your frequency is your boarding pass. Your frequency is your boarding pass. And this is the other reason why it's so important that you really, if you haven't already, or wherever you are along that trajectory, that you focus on living as authentically as you are able in each moment. And that means being conscious of your thoughts, being conscious of your words, being conscious of your choices, and choosing what aligns with you. It's about no longer being so triggered by people, because each trigger, there's a lot of value in each trigger. If you stop and you look and you go, okay, what just triggered me? But if you're blindly being triggered, every time you're being triggered, it's like somebody kind of like poking at you, jabbing at you, and kind of, it's like you being pulled off track, off path, right? You've just gone to sleep again. You've just lost your way again. And then you have to come out of that again. You're kind of like giving your power away with each and every single trigger. So it's about really authentically, what do I want to do? I don't want to give presents? Cool. I don't want to put a tree up? Cool. I do want to put one up and I want to play Christmas carols for the whole entire of December. Cool. Cool. It does not matter. Start looking into why, for sure. Start expanding your perception, for sure. Start asking the question, why do I actually do this? Why do I actually do this? What am I actually lending my energy to? For sure. Get conscious on loosh. Get conscious on what you're actually fueling, but your frequency is your boarding pass. So if you want your onward journey to be your most authentic and what like the timeline that will most resonate with you, then you need to start getting really clear on shifting things, people, thoughts, situations, jobs, whatever, out that do not resonate with you. Okay, let me know how that resonates with you. Let me know if what I'm saying is making sense. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what your thoughts are on what I'm saying about that. Catherine, hello. My psychotherapist is adamant I be on time. I say that I am paying her for the session, so if I'm a few minutes late, what does it matter? So it's an interesting one for sure. If I had a client that is often that is kind of not on time, I would not be continuing to see that client. So where I totally understand what you're saying, Catherine, and it makes total sense, and there's nothing wrong with your statement. There's like truth all the way through it. One of my values is kind of being on time myself and valuing my time. And so I suppose psychotherapy is different because it's just so kind of never ending. And it's kind of like, I suppose I don't work this way. So where I work, like, let's get as much done in this time. Let me share as much with you in a session as I can. Let's get, maximum value. And so you showing up on time is kind of your part of it. And because I show up on time, I'm committed. It's like when I first, before I had an online booking system, I did not send people reminders. And people would then sometimes say to me, like, I remember one time a client came in and he said, "Oh, you're lucky I remembered because, it had been so long since we'd made this booking." And I said, "No, I'm not lucky I remembered. You're lucky you remembered." And then he said, can you remind me? And I said, "No, you can remind yourself, because I remind myself and you remind yourself, and we both show up as adults who value this time and this space and value the work that we are doing." So that might be really different, I suppose, maybe to the way that psychotherapy works. I know that it's kind of like more of a standing thing. So maybe you feel like, that's my allotted time. But yeah, so I don't know, something for you to think about, Catherine. Like totally get what you're saying there, and I totally understand you're a psychotherapist, because I would feel the same way. And then important for your psychotherapist not to take it personally, which is why I suppose I would say, okay, I'm probably not the right practitioner for you. Because there's, it's not like one person's right and the other person's wrong. So, your frequency is your boarding pass. Let me know what you think of that. Let me know how that resonates. Your frequency is your boarding pass for your onward journey. So, having said that, how do you feel about your frequency? Because I know that not a lot, that's a complete overstatement. Some people that I know are very caught in certain things. They're very caught in, oh my God, let me tell you how stupid people are. They're very caught in, oh my God, people are still wearing masks. People are this, people are that, people are whatever. So I'm not saying, oh, you can't ever mention these things. But what I am saying is, you are definitely going to stay on that timeline. So I've often said, your choices determine your timeline. And then sometimes people have said to me, like, what does that mean? Well, if your choice is to continue to be triggered by people who are making other choices, if your choice is to actually feel angry and go, why are people still, look how stupid they are, oh my God, nothing's ever going to change. If they don't stop doing that, how can this stop? If you're giving other people that much power, if you're giving the outside world that much power to determine your timeline and your frequency, basically you're saying, unless you get it, I can't move up the game. Unless you get better at playing, I can't move up the game. Unless you learn the rules, I can't move up the game. And that is just simply not true. It is simply not true. Let's think about it in terms of, okay, let's say, I don't know why chess is coming to me, but chess is coming to me. Let's say you've learned to play the game and you're playing with people and they're not very good. You're better than what they are. Well, if you're going to continue to play, you move up with who you play with. You might move up like grades, you move up and you play with a different lot of people. You start to play with people that are also better at playing. Then sometimes you'll win, sometimes you won't, sometimes you get thrown out, whatever. So basically it's the same as life. Sometimes you'll get triggered, sometimes you'll fall asleep, sometimes you'll forget who you are, sometimes you'll forget your power, and sometimes you won't. And when you are consciously playing the game and you are diligently playing the game and you realize and remember that you are here for mastery, then you are going to play your best game each and every day to the best of your ability. And then you understand, when I get better at playing the game, I get to play the game with different people. I get to enter different rooms. I get to enter spaces and places and competitions that are not available to me if I'm playing at a lower grade. And life is the same. Timelines are the same. Portals are the same. Opportunities are the same. If you're not playing to the best of your ability because you're sitting in a room and you're the best chess player in there, but you're going, nah, until they can all like win in like 10 moves or less. I don't know. If you know chess, you could, I don't know much about chess. But let's say you say, if this whole room can't win in 10 moves or less, we're all fucked. And you're sitting there and you're looking around going, I can't believe how shit you are at playing this. You yourself are keeping yourself in that room. You are keeping yourself on that timeline. You are keeping yourself stuck. Does that make sense? Let me know whether that is helpful in understanding the whole your choices determine your timeline. If we're thinking of it in terms of like a game and your ability to play it. You're probably all having dinner or cooking or driving or something. Oh, Jane, yeah, good. Does that help to go, like, you don't have to sit around, thanks, Jai. You don't have to sit around and go, everybody has to do it. Everybody in this room has to do it. Everybody, and I'm stuck here. No, you're not. You're not stuck anywhere. It's not a team sport. Jane, is not a team sport. That is such a good way to put it. It's not a team sport. Now, people will say, oh no, but you have, it's the common good and you have to, like, this is an individual journey where your own individual awakening and your own individual choices and your own individual frequency are everything, because that is what you bring to the collective. You do not wait in a room before everybody is at the exact same level that you are before you move up, because you're moving up to the next room of chess ability, right? You moving up frequencies is actually what helps pull the people that are beneath you up a little bit, in the sense that you've just provided a rung. Hey, you've just provided a rung. Healing Massage Melbourne, I don't know your name. I mean, I follow your account and what's your name? So you kind of provide a rung, right? So now people have seen you. Okay, let's go back to the chess thing. You're in a room, you're playing a game of chess, you're starting to realize that you're getting pretty good at it. Georgette. You're starting to realize I'm pretty good at playing chess and I'm beating most of the people in this room, and it's getting boring, right? They're doing moves where I think, what are you doing, right? Imagine if every time somebody got to that level, they then got up and went to the next room. Imagine how much that would inspire the people that are in that room, that are at that level of chess playing, to improve their own game, to go home, to really focus, to go, I want to get better. They keep getting up and walking into another room, and I want to see what's in that room. I want to go into that room too. They would be inspired by the fact that, and that's the part where I say we can observe each other and inspire each other, right? It's not about sitting in the room and going, come on, you fuckers. Surely by now you can play this game better than what you are. It's about going, okay, I'm just going to go and play over here. And that's what happens when people leave our lives and jobs leave our lives and things leave our lives. It can be very painful at the time. It can feel like a big loss. It can feel like a big ripping away of things. But really, what's happening is the things that don't resonate are moving away. And the things that are on your timeline are starting to come in. They can't come in though unless you really are authentically in your frequency. You have to play that chess game authentically. You have to play it your way. You have to play your style. You have to play your style. There is a blueprint inside you of how to play. There is a blueprint inside you of what resonates. That's where I talk about we each have our own itinerary. Okay? And then the boarding pass, if we're going to continue with the airport analogy, or the ability to go into the next room and play chess with more seasoned players, or the portal opening or the opportunity opening or whatever it is, that can only be achieved through your frequency matching that opportunity. Does that make sense? Hi, Georgina. Does that make sense then when I say your frequency is your boarding pass and your choices determine your timeline? And if you've been here for a little while, any questions about anything I've said? It's not a team sport. I love that. It's not a team sport. It's not a team sport. Yes, you're part of the collective. Hello. Yes, you're part of the collective. Yes, you are. Yes, you are a vital part of the collective. But how you actually meet your, I don't know, the word obligations coming to me, but it's not really your part, right? Your part. How you're able to do that is by being authentically who you are. By really beginning to really, hey Kath, great. By really only choosing what resonates with you. And by knowing that that doesn't make anybody right or wrong, that doesn't mean that everybody now has to come into the next room. Stop waiting. Stop waiting on other people to get anything. You don't even know what their itinerary is. You don't even know what their own blueprint is. You have no idea. There could be people in that room who are chess masters who are like, I'm going to play a completely crazy, nonsensical game just to see whether these people have the mastery to get up anyway and move into the other space. What if there's that? You know, we just don't know. You don't know who people are. You don't know what their kind of their role is. So this is another thing that came to me in this time just the other day. The last person on a timeline turns the light out and closes the door. Like, that's literally what I got. The last person on a timeline turns the light out and closes the door. Then the timeline ends because there's no one left to power it anymore. So, a timeline of war, a timeline of C words and V words and P words and all of current that. When the last person stops powering it, there's nothing left. Then the timeline collapses. So when you've heard people say, oh, that there's lower timelines that have closed off, there might be lower timelines that have closed off to planet Earth as she has her own journey with her own evolution as she goes on into her own next chess room. It might be that a timeline is closed off for you, right? You're not a match in frequency to that timeline. But timelines wouldn't really end, is what they were kind of, what I was receiving. Timelines don't really fully fall apart. Something doesn't really stop being an option where it's like, nope, 100% no one will experience that. unless there's no one left powering it. So let's say, because so much of our lives we can be in the past, or we can literally power it just with the fear of thinking it's going to happen. So let's say, like, you know, even when wars have ended, there are, okay, this is totally something, not just from history books, this is something that one of my own relatives experienced, but you don't need to, like, you know, come at me with like that wars were never real or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's an example. I did have a relative come home many years after war ended, and because he had been in a prisoner of war camp, he did not know that the war had ended. He did not know that. So for him, that timeline was still open. So even though for the masses, they would have said that is no longer happening, that is in the past, for him and for a number of others, it was still happening. They were still powering that timeline. They were still living in it, right? It was still their reality. And in that way, it's the same as so if you're going to choose your timeline, be conscious that you're not living in the past. Be conscious of what you're powering. What timelines are you powering? So as you sit around, and as we're doing this on the 1st of January, 2nd of January, and people go, what do you think is going to happen in 2023? Gee, what do you think? Is there going to be food shortages? Is there going to be, excuse me, climate lockdowns? All this stuff. Could there be? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is it the intention? Most likely. Is it going to happen to you? Who knows? That's the part that has not yet been written, because if you're not currently actively in it, then you don't know. You do not know. Your fear of it will feed it. Your fear of it will make you a match in frequency to it. You're talking about it, you're like, and here again, I'm not saying just love and light it and pretend it's not happening. You want an awareness. You want an awareness. So then when you come up against propaganda, when you come up against manipulation, you need to be aware enough to go, oh, I see what you're doing there and we're not doing this. It doesn't just not happen because you don't want it to happen. Is it going to happen? Maybe. Could you be in those situations? Maybe. And you still need to be okay. So what you want to work on, and if you're not really sure what I'm saying, or if you didn't read my post yesterday, go and read it after this live. It could happen and you'll still be okay. You'll still be in your power, and it might not happen. And if it doesn't get enough power, if not enough of us power it, the timeline cannot occur, because we are the ones that create each one. We are the ones that actually bring to life a lot of what they want to create. And that's why Loosh is important. That's what Loosh is. Loosh is harnessing human emotion to power certain situations and bring them to life and create them. Is PTSD just people stuck on a closed timeline, or would that not be connected? PTSD, that's actually, a closed timeline is a really good way to put it, because they are looping. Like, they're looping and they're stuck in that loop. PTSD, though, would be more of a, their body is stuck in it, and so it's replaying it. And yeah, their mind is stuck in it, so it's replaying it. And so, yeah, look, yeah, they can't get out of it. It is like a closed timeline. And you really need to, like, break that. You need to break, because so the body, this is why kinesiology is so powerful. Because what kinesiology does is it works with the mind and the body. Because when two things go together, when two things have happened, let's say you're in a car accident and it was a red car that sideswiped you from the side. Every time you then see red, the ego then goes, those two things go together. The memory of that, and it gets locked in the body. So every time you see that, it re-triggers that I'm not safe, I'm not safe. So it's a body thing and it's a mind thing, and most likely an energetic thing too. It's a really good way to put it. Very good way to put it. I think it is connected. I know, but I don't know, is the PTSD intentional from you know, is it like a loosh thing, or is it like someone's gotten stuck? It's like a record that's got like a scratch and it's just going round and round and round and it's been stuck. Definitely still up to the individual to get out of it though, for sure. And I think, yes, it would be a personal timeline and not a collective. Unless you get enough people. And then that's a good point, because how many people say, I have PTSD from the marches, or I have PTSD from the people that wear the blue uniforms? How many people say that? And it's very genuine, and I can totally relate to it. So I wonder if a lot of the intention is create the PTSD, and then that keeps the timeline going, for sure. So the other thing that I realized this at Christmas with a lot of the Christmas energetics, is it's all loosh. I used to think loosh was just kind of the fear, like fear and anger and conflict, like this like push to have us constantly conflicted, this push to have us constantly at each other, this push to have left and right and, you know, right and wrong, and this push of like constant fighting, where these narratives and these like agendas get thrown in to make sure that we're at each other's throats. I was like, okay, well that's loosh, you know, they're harnessing loosh. But something I've really come to understand, and let me know whether you have had your own understanding of this or whether you're like, well, duh, I knew this all along, is that loosh is actually any human emotion. It's compassion, it's laughter, it's love, right? This is why I suppose big concerts are such great, like looshing capacity, because of this outpouring of love for the person that's up on the stage. I think, and so then, you know, do we want to be careful with our human emotion? Well, no, I think but what we need to do is we need to start understanding that we need to start using it consciously for our own creation. And rather, what am I feeding? I mean, I've done lots of lives on that where I've talked about it. You know, it's kind of like an arena, and they just throw stuff in the middle, and then we kind of like feed it. It is important to know. The other example that I used was like, you know, once you know that the magic show is not real, if you're still attacking it and you're trying to wake up the people around you and you're screaming out and yelling at it and whatever, you're still feeding it. You're feeding it. It's really about stand up and walk out. Just literally stand up and walk out. And when enough people go, hang on, how come all these people are walking out? That's when they'll start asking questions, right? That's why conversations about things like New Year's is good, but you don't have to follow it if it doesn't resonate. If you're not ready, or you're not there, or you just think, you know what? It's like, I mean, I don't want to open a hole, but it's like the flat earth thing. Like, I don't care. I don't care. If you say to me, do I think it's round? I don't care. I don't feel like it's going to be my thing this time round to really care about that. I'm not bothered. I'm you know, it could be like a piece of paper in an envelope. I'm not bothered. I do feel like there is a lot of water thing that I get. Like, I do feel like we're underwater, but to tell you the truth, it's not my thing. It's not part of my onward journey to really give a shit. So the people that do, great. And then the people that really want to look into that, great. If it resonates with you, it resonates. You're not an idiot either way. You're never an idiot. Like, let's stop that whole thing, right? No one's an idiot. Just see what resonates with you. Because if you start to think, so what's right? You know, I'll often get people DM me and go, so what's right? Don't ask me that. Don't ask me that. Unless you're me, don't ask me that. We can have a conversation. We can talk about things. I can go, hey, I think this. Hey, I believe this. Hey, I've received this insight. You run it through your own system and you take on what resonates with you and you throw away what doesn't. And there's no right or wrong in it, really. It will be about what resonates with you. So it's all loosh, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Exactly. Everyone is free to think what they like. Beautiful. Yep. So your frequency is your boarding pass. You're all on board with that. The last person on a timeline turns the light out and closes the door. Then the timeline ends. There's no one left to power it anymore. I got that really clearly the other day, and I thought, yep. And that's how. And so the splitting too, you know, I was having a conversation with someone the other day about the splitting. We are all having different experiences. There are splits, undoubtedly. There's timeline splits. There's probably splits within splits. There's probably a splitting of. So I did share this in my stories. If you want to go up, I did put the YouTube link on. Tina Spalding. I don't know if you know Tina Spalding, but I follow her on YouTube. Great channeled messages. Always really resonates with me, and because I'm a big fan of A Course in Miracles, and that's what she teaches or teaches from. Okay, just a sec. Do you want to go outside? Do you want to go outside? So she was channeling Ananda, and she was saying that there is a lot of people are going to leave the planet. Now, if you're a proponent of this is intended to kill us all, then you might go, well, yeah, duh, right? She was saying that it is about the Earth's frequency, and as the Earth's frequency gets higher, some souls have chosen to ascend, which that really resonates with me. Like, this is why that I have not taken that. It has never been a physical thing for me. It's never been about fearing side effects or anything like that. For me, it was an immediate, instant and hard no, because I felt like it could interfere with my remembering, and I am not going to take that risk in any way, shape or form. There is nothing more important to me, which is why I always say I choose the highest timeline. I choose the highest timeline. There is nothing more important to me than reaching whatever height of soul expansion and evolution, human expansion and evolution that I can. That's it. For me, that's the, you know, that's like the, that's the best, that's the prize. And there is no way I would take that risk. And so, but different people are going to have different experiences of that, different beliefs, different thoughts. So she was saying that there is the ascension, there are the beings who will ascend with the earth as she has higher and higher frequencies. And that really resonates with me in terms of being able to experience, you know, heaven on earth, that we are the ones we are the ones who are creating, we are currently creating heaven on earth, is being birthed through us. And then there are many souls who didn't want that, didn't sign up for that, didn't want it, are going, you know what, it's not my thing, not here for that. Or who, wherever we are, let's take it back to the chess, they're like, I'm not in room 10, I'm in room 2, and I don't want to be in room 10 playing that game because it's too hard for me. I sit there and I just go, fuck, that just blows my mind, how quick they're playing, or, you know, how advanced they are in terms of how they know how to play the game. I don't want to be in there. There are folks like that here now. There are folks like that here now going, I'm out of here. It might not be conscious, but they're going, I'm out of here. So she was talking about the fact that there will be a huge number of people leaving the planet in the next little while, and that they will be receding. So there's ascending and there's receding, but not receding R-E-C-E, receding as in R-E-S-E-E-D-I-N-G, receding. They are receding. She said they aren't yet ready to go to that whatever next step because they have unresolved business. Maybe they have some karmic stuff they want to play out. Maybe they still have different expressions of, like the 3D human experience they want to play out. Who knows? Who knows? Again, they're not stupid. They're not idiots. They just are playing a different level of the chess game. Interfering with my remembering, that deeply resonates, yes. And there was no way I was going to take that chance. Even in terms of energetically how close I will have that to me. Now, there might not be anything in it. There are some days where I think this whole entire thing is designed to be a wake-up thing. This whole entire thing is really... There are some days where I think there's nothing in that, and there's probably nothing harming people other than their own beliefs, other than fear, other than energetics. And it could all be simply whether you are aligned with your choices. So if you really wanted it and you got it, great. If you didn't want it and you didn't get it, great. But anybody who went against themselves in either way is not really being authentic and not being aligned with their frequency. Who knows? Then there's other days where I'll wake up and I'll go, the fuckers are messing with me completely and totally. Like, I swing between, it just depends. Same, I'm on the long one too. I also know that where I'll be at the end won't be the easiest spot to be, but I somehow know that I chose that too. Yeah, for sure. And because that's your itinerary, you will have written the itinerary. So Jai and I were talking the other day, and I was saying that I had just been thinking about the fact that, so many of us are concerned at the moment, or thinking at the moment, like that we're human and there's an agenda to make us AI. But what if we are AI and our intention is to become more human? Who knows? Who knows? We don't know anything. Plus the baby boomers generation are nearly geriatric. Well, nearly, probably more than nearly. Been killing and disabling people for over 100 years, sadly. Yeah. Yeah, Jai, remember? Who knows? Are we the AI? We probably invented the game. We probably are they. We are they. Maybe the they is the past us. Maybe there's, there's different aspects of us experiencing this from different parts. We might have invented the game. We might be the creators of the Matrix. It may not be as out of control as we think, or it might be. We might be really advanced and we've gone, send me in. I want to transcend it. Send me in. I want to wake up within the complete mental madness. I want to be so far away from who I am. I want to be in a complete state of amnesia and still remember who I am, and still live authentically, and still become aligned with Source once again, right? And maybe we're playing it, how far from Source can we go and still come back to Source? All of it's a maybe, because we don't know. But the givens, the things that are a given, are that when you are aligned and when you do this authentically, it feels a hell of a lot better than when you go against yourself. And the emotional side is your guidance. You have no greater guidance than your emotions in how you feel about things. And so your frequency is your boarding pass. The last person on the timeline turns the lights out and closes the door. Then the timeline ends and there's no one left to power it. It's all loosh. Did you know this? Am I the only one that just recently realized that the good, the bad and the ugly, that even all the good stuff is loosh? So all the Christmas movies are loosh. All of it's loosh. It's all loosh. And so what we really want to do is we embrace how emotional we are. Embrace how emotional humans are. Embrace how compassionate we are. Because you know what? I love us. I love us dearly. I didn't love us when I was nursing. I didn't love us. I wanted to smack us upside the head. I wanted to stab us in the eye with a butter knife. Because us fucked me off severely when I was nursing. But now that I've stepped away from that and I live a life that's really aligned, I love us. I can see the compassion in us and the wisdom in us, and I can just see like how beautiful we are. And that's why we're easy to manipulate. We're easy to manipulate emotionally. What we need to do is to really embrace how emotional we are, embrace how compassionate we are, embrace how feeling we are, and start using it to create consciously what we want to create, rather than have it harnessed and used to create whoever they, whatever they, and create things that are really going against us. What does loosh mean? So loosh is kind of like, if we use it in the example of the matrix, loosh is what powers the matrix. So the reason why, if you turn your TV on, you turn the news on, the reason why it's fear and doom and drama and fear and doom, and if you're in Australia, at the bottom of every news, even like the short little ads for the news, it says alert in red letters. And it has said that probably since the fires. When were the fires? Like the last lot, the fairly decent fires, floods, I don't know, you name it, we've had it. I think that alert thing was even before the P word. So they want you alert. The reason why there is this constant fear mongering and having you triggered and having you attack each other is because it creates loosh, that it's like this energy, this like energetic that can be harnessed, because they don't have the power to create. We are the creator beings. Humans are the creator beings. And depending on what your understanding or what resonates with you about who they are, if you're thinking of they as like the lower energies, the darker, the shadow energies, they do not have the ability to create what they want to bring to fruition. They need us. So they plant the seeds, they do the movies, they show it to us, they place the fear, they speak it into kind of the vortex or into the matrix, and then we pick it up and we create it for them. We create it for them through our fear of it, we create it for them through talking about it, we create it for them by thinking about it, dreaming about it, like visioning it, like stocking up because of food shortages. We create it, right? That's what loosh is. And what I'm understanding now, so I spell loosh L-O-O-S-H, and as far as I know, that's the correct spelling, L-O-O-S-H. And recently I've just come to understand that it's not just fear that is loosh, it's all of it. It can be the compassion. This is why they'll show you the starving children and the refugee camps, and please give to this little child who's here starving. We now know what that's all about. It's literally to get you. It's not just to get you to give money. Money, yes, they want that. They want your money, but also they want your open, pouring heart, because they can harness that and use that. I'm just going to let my pooch in the door. Okay, so I've been on here longer than I thought I would. What time did we go on? It might have been an hour and a half. See, this is what happens. I get on and I think I'll just do a little bit, fires were in 20 and 21. I think, Catherine, they started in October of 2019. Now that I mention it, because we were driving up to Canberra and they'd already been quite bad. That was already all burnt. I think all ties in with emotions attaching to events. Yes, absolutely. It's how you can harness it. It's how you can be manipulated, right? It's the manipulation. So you don't want to shut down. You want to really embrace your emotions, and you want to go, let me live open-hearted, let me live fully. But but let me not. Music, oh, music, so much. Not just the loosh too, but you really start to realize how much, you know, the songs that stay in your head, how much it's like to really hypnotize you and program you. Manipulation of the collective vibration. Yep, for sure. And so some days I think we're being fucked with, and then other days I think the game is incredible and extraordinary and we're here to master it. And yes, the collective is being manipulated, but you know what? That will end when we as individuals can't be manipulated. So focus less on the collective and focus more on yourself, because you are the key. Each one of us is the key to stopping this. And in order for that to happen, so remember, your frequency is your boarding pass. Your frequency will determine your onward journey, not the collective. Remember, it doesn't matter how good everybody else in the room is at playing chess. It matters how good you are at it. And when you get to a certain level, you will be given an opportunity, a portal or a doorway or something will come into your life. People will come into your life. Opportunity will come into your life. Hey, do you want to come and play with the next group? They're better at it than the people in this room. And then you might get worried and you might get scared and you might get frightened and you might go, and your ego might go, you know what? I like being the one in the room who's the best at playing, rather than maybe going into the next room and actually then being like, you know, it's like, you know, it's nice to be in grade 6 and then you go back and then you go to year 7 and you're like bottom of the pile again. And then it's nice to be in year 12 and then you start uni and you're the bottom of the pile again, right? Ego likes to go, your ego would rather sit in a room full of people that annoy the fuck out of you than actually go to a room where it thinks it might be out of its depth. So just understand that is something that can be going on too, and that's why it's so important for you to be the adult in the room and for your ego not to be the one making the decisions. And the NPCs are all the thousands walking around the airport with no boarding pass going nowhere. Absolutely. How many people are there always at airports that are not actually flying anywhere? Absolutely. So yeah, what are people's thoughts on NPCs? What are people's thoughts on NPCs? Are there as many as what we think? So while you're typing that in, and any questions that you have, I'm going to share with you the last thing that has come to me in the last few months. This is what it means to have a staffy, you know. Online, being online, the gift of being online throughout this time, being kept from each other, right? Whether or not you played along, like I didn't play along, right? I didn't play along. Jane and I, we lived large, right? We didn't play along, but to a certain extent, we were, like, even if you weren't playing along, to a certain extent, there was a lot more online than you would normally have had, right? There was less in person, I should say, than you normally might have had. That helped teach us energetics. That helped us to discern, right? Now this might be its own thing, because I could go on about, so the discernment is so important and the frequencies are so important, and if your frequency is your boarding pass, part of what has helped us to become really discerning is mastery of the energetics, of feeling into the energetics. Now, Jai was one of the people that I met on Friday night after knowing each other online. And I met a few people in person that I hadn't met before. And afterwards we were talking about the fact that how we've all kind of found each other, and how, so now she's jumping around on the beanbag, just getting the right position if you're wondering what the hell is going on with the sound. Okay, she should be settled now for at least 10 minutes. And Jai was saying, like, he felt like he had known Mr. Cookson and I for a really long time. And I felt the same way. And I was thinking about, what is that? Well, we're huggers, right? And I think huggers are huggers, right? So, you know, huggers just are huggers, and we're just probably our own little subset of people who connect quickly. But also, it's you've already discerned the energetics of that person, and you know you actually want to meet them. You haven't got the physical to get in the way, right? You haven't got the physical getting in the way. And so online taught us, it helped remind us of energetics in a way that we had forgotten. Does that make sense? It is one of, like, you probably could, there's probably a million things about the last 3 years that have been an absolute gift, and that have helped along in the remembering, and that have helped us really, you know, move along, get on that bus and move along. And the online, being online, has helped teach us and remind us of energetics in a way that we had forgotten it by being in person with each other all the time. Does that feel like that makes sense to you, or it resonates? So thanks, Jai, for filling everybody in on what NPCs are. There are heaps around. And so many people that I've spoken to go, I think my family are NPCs. And probably we would all have family members that are, for sure. But then I think that maybe often when we think people are NPCs, they're probably more likely souls that are not on the same journey. And so it can seem like, hey, they don't get it, or they really are different. I think it can be, you know, if we think of life like a school, if we think of planet Earth like a school, you've got every year level there, right? When you're in year 12 and you're hanging, like you're looking at the kindergarten kids, you're not bagging them and going, you're idiots, can't you do that yet? I think it's the same thing with human. It's like you've got all different levels of being able to play the game, different levels of mastery, different levels of evolution. But also people are playing out different roles in your life to wake you up, right? People that may not be real, but may not even be aware that they're not real or have a soul. Yeah, babies, well, no, not baby souls. This is different. These are like, so, you know, the term comes from, you know, if you like playing computer games. So let's say you're playing online with your friends, right? So let's say you have 10 friends and you're all playing the same computer game. You've all chosen a character, you've chosen a name, you've chosen maybe a bit of a backstory of your character, whatever. And then the game always has players that no one's attached to. Any computer game that you play has players that nobody's attached to. And it's that kind of theory of like, there are players, there are characters. I would say probably the biggest place where we see NPCs is stars, like singers, actors, probably politicians, people on the world stage are most likely NPCs. All right, that was a lot. But, you know, it always is. It always is. Because when I take time off, a lot always comes. So let me know any thoughts before we head off. I'll give it like 5 more minutes. Any questions, any thoughts? What's your take home? What's your take home? What are you going to take home from what we talked about? What's been helpful? And you're welcome, Feather Breath. What's been helpful? What are you going to take home? And any questions? Because I probably won't answer them now, but I can answer them in the next live. No, I will never go back to nursing. No, I have been out of nursing now. I always say I've been clean now for 11 years. Yes, you're welcome, Jane. I've been clean now for 11 years, and no, I would never go back to nursing because the system is toxic. It's a toxic cesspit of shit fuckery. So no, yeah. Jane, a fellow who is now also clean nurse. No, wouldn't never do that. And now actually I struggled to even drive into the car park of a hospital. That's how bad the energetics are. Yeah, it's not even so much, Joel. It's not even so much my fellow frontline workers here. It was amazing, and for your information, I'll take home an image of Sabina chilling in the VIP lounge while I'm eating in the food court. Oh, I'll let you in on my. You can. I mean, first we'll have to check your frequency, and we'll have to do a resonance reading. But if I think work your way to the lounge. I'm sure I can let friends in. What is the issue with nursing and hospitals is that they are in no way, I would say 99.999% of people who entered nursing before I entered it, and at the time that I entered it, and up until probably maybe a couple of years ago, entered because they have values that they want to help people, they want to empower people, they want to be a part of somebody's healing process in whatever shape or form. This is not what occurs in a hospital. This is not what occurs with any aspect of Western medicine. And so once you see that aspect of it, once you've been in it long enough, and some people don't really understand why, but it just never resonates, and so you can feel really in it. Other people just immediately can see no, this is not what I signed up for, which was me. But it took me 19 years to get out. The people in more recent times that have been drawn to it, especially now that nursing is like a uni degree, it's more, look, I can't speak for them, but what I started to notice is it was very different in a lot of the people coming out and becoming nurses. It was a little bit more detached. It was a little bit more clinical. It was a little bit more that focus with that, there's a very good reason why everybody that had to get out of the system, because what you showed by saying no to that is that you were someone who questions, you were someone who wouldn't blindly follow along. And I'm not saying that everybody who got it is someone who blindly follows along. If you got it because you wanted it, fantastic. But the common theme between a lot of people who didn't get it were people who were like, hang on, it's very new. Yeah, I've always had them in the past, but this one doesn't feel right. Hang on, what's going on? What I'm seeing at work isn't adding up with what I'm seeing on the news, and a whole heap of things. They were asking questions. They were people who could think for themselves and who were willing to go against the status quo, because it was a massive thing to say, I'm not going to have that. Massive. Showed massive balls and massive amount of courage, and really it's a really good example of what I'm talking about, where you go, I choose the highest timeline, and I choose to be aligned, I choose my most authentic self regardless of what it means. So you do not want those people in the way the system currently is, because they can't be manipulated, and they're not going to be the little puppets that are just going to blindly go, hang on, I'm seeing things that aren't what, and just keep going anyway. You need people who aren't going to question. Hospital is a dangerous place. Yes, that's for sure. Yeah, the advocates. Yeah, exactly. That's another part of it. You don't want people who are going to advocate for people. You don't want people who are going to ask questions on behalf of their patients and go. You also don't want people who are going to give their patients have informed consent, because informed consent stopped being a thing in 2020. Literally stopped being a thing in 2020. So you want to get rid of all the people who actually require informed consent before they're happy to do something, give their patients something or perform a procedure. How does change happen within that system if all the high frequency beings leave, or does that system never change or implode eventually? Hope that makes sense. Yes, it does make sense. That system is far too toxic, as all of the really 3D systems, and they are dying. And so for the people who informed consent is now a sweet memory. Absolutely. No such thing anymore in medicine. That system, along with education, along with, I'm talking mainstream, along with like all of it. I mean, I'm now saying things that basically, you know what I mean. All of those systems, they have to, not just that they have to crumble, they're so toxic, they can't be fixed. They can't be fixed because, yes, they have good people within them, but those people are not able to change that system. The system in and of itself is completely toxic. But also where we're heading, where we're going, those systems will not in any way, shape or form resonate with, they're not, those systems do not have a boarding pass to where we're going. So people are going to make a choices, and that's partly going to be part of the split. Do you want to get out of those systems or not? And I see a lot of people who will say, I'm awake, I'm aware, and at the same time, they are still saying, I cannot live outside these systems. I cannot not have this system in my life. And I get it. I get it. People with chronic illnesses and different things, or work, whatever, right? I'm not judging it. What I am saying, however, though, is there will come a time when your decision will be fairly final, because the plane is going to take off. And if you're not at your boarding gate and you're meant to be, a lot of people aren't meant to be. It's fine. It's not a thing to judge. It's like, yeah, cool, whatever. You are also going to keep yourself in a timeline if you're judging people who are choosing that same timeline. So that's not something ideally that you want to do either. But some people who are kind of going, yeah, it's all shit and it's all falling apart, they'll go down with the ship because they're not ready yet to jump ship. Your 5th day clean, well done. Well done. It gets better, it gets easier. Anything that toxic will end up eating itself up. Humans cannot survive in an environment that's toxic forever. Absolutely. And it is. I mean, it is imploding. If you speak to people who are reasonably aware and they're either still in the systems or they know people that are in the systems, you know what? Healthcare doesn't even really exist anymore, right? It has imploded. It's on its knees. It's almost a pretense. It's almost like a pretense that it's actually still exists. It doesn't even really exist. And you'll know that if you have to go into it. Anybody who's having to use any aspect of it, anybody who's waiting for an ambulance, anybody who's will tell you it's on its knees. I think it imploded quite a long time ago, and now it's all pretty much just pretense. You know, you have to keep pretending it's there. Is this about Mercury retrograde? No, it is not, Yusra. It is not about Mercury retrograde. I know, right? I had to be proud of that lasting a whole year. Yeah. It's just, you leave when you're ready. You leave when you're ready. You're in it when you're not. All right, folks. This has gone so... I can't believe it's 7:15. All right. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here. And Happy New Year. Go back to the start to see why that's relevant, which was a long time ago now. It's like a long time ago. Inside jokes, sorry, oh yeah, no worries. But you just won't ever find me talking about Mercury retrograde. How are you, Yusra? Yusra would recommend watching it though. Oh, thank you, Jai. Yes, Yusra, I would recommend you go back and you watch the last 15 hours of this live, there's a lot of wisdom. And you know what? The Instagram fuckers, this is why it'll be a reel. It's a reel, and you can't pause, and you can't forward, and you can't back. And so most people will not watch it. Because you go in and you go, oh my God, look how long this goes for. And you haven't got the time. What's wrong with Mercury in retrograde? Nothing. Sorry, didn't mean to trigger. I just don't talk about it. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong at all. I will put it on YouTube. So you might want to watch it there. Okay. All right, everyone. Yusra, tell us about Mercury in retrograde. I've been talking to your friend Naomi. You're welcome, Georgette. Is your YouTube your name? Yes. Spina Jackson, Conscious Living. Yes. There's a link in my link tree. All right, my loves. Thank you. It's great. Good stuff. Let me know if you're watching the replay, or if you start thinking about what we talked about and a little bit, any of the stuff we talked about. All I know is since Mercury in retrograde happened, so much shit has gone down. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's interesting though, isn't it? I mean, I'm having this whole experience with, I don't really think the moon is the moon anymore. So I don't know what I think of all the planets. Okay, YouTube works better for me anyway. Yeah. All right, my loves. Take care. Just be proud. Be proud of where you are. Be proud of what you've done. We're here for mastery. See, you are a real person, conscious living. Be proud of where we are, and stop fighting with people who aren't playing chess as well as you are. Just go in the next room, find the next people, go, I'm going to find my crew. Find your crew. All right, loves. Happy January. Thanks for being here. Bye.